Hey everybody, this is Zach with Luck of the Draw and the Luck of the Draw podcast. This is episode number 4, and we have some great folks from Backwoods Life, Michael Lee and Kevin Knighton. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. I was doing just trying to look at some of your guys' numbers as I was prepping for the podcast. I mean, over 19 seasons, 276 episodes, over a million social followers. I mean, that's awesome. And I'm definitely as just a, normal guy who loves to hunt, right? And definitely appreciate you guys being willing to come on and hang out with us for a little while.
Absolutely. We're glad to be here. Appreciate the invite. And don't let numbers fool you. We're just a couple of redneck old guys now that had a lot of fun.
I was about to say, yes, we're just regular guys like to hunt too. We just get to do it for people to watch it every once in a while.
So Kyle, if you want to go ahead and jump us off with some questions, we'll get to know these fine gentlemen better and hopefully get some laughs along the way.
You guys are coming up on almost 20 years of doing what you guys enjoy doing and love, being outdoors and hunting and sharing your experiences. Now, so how did you guys meet together? Were you guys like high school buddies? How did this whole friendship and this?
I
like to call it bad luck, but I'll let Kevin tell the story.
Yeah, Michael lost a bet 20 years ago, and no, I actually went to a hunting store. I did print ads for that hunting store, and they had said, hey, we got this guy's going to be here Saturday for our big turkey day, and he wants to make some turkey hunting DVDs. Well, I had all the video camera experience and editing background and everything, so I went to meet that gentleman, and come to find out he wasn't as interested as he thought he was when he figured out how much time and money and everything else, actually goes into that kind of stuff. And Michael Lee was there. He was on pro staff for Quaker Boy Calls, and just so happened that was March of this year will be 20 years ago, and we've been doing this ever since.
It was actually, I was his second choice that day because we didn't know each other. That was the only reason.
Well, and actually the other guy that was going to do the DVD, I actually videoed him calling a turkey in for the guy, a different guy. One of the first things we videoed at all, the same weekend Michael was videoing his dad up in Georgia, and we were just going to make DVDs and stuff. And that first like halfway decent turkey hunting weekend, we had, I think, 5 gobblers dead. So we said we may get enough footage to do more than a DVD here.
and we're telling on ourselves because our the DVDs even exist anymore. Does anybody even have a DVD player?
Well, I mean, shoot, I can promise you this cell phone right here can shoot way better video than the cameras we had when we started this off.
Absolutely.
So that's how you guys got started, mainly, or starting off with turkey was pretty much the first time you guys went out together.
Yeah, we met in March, so turkey hunting was how things started, and we of course went deer hunting later on that same year, and we've been doing it every year since.
It's funny, like I think thinking back on that, and Kevin and I were hanging out. I think it was at ATA show a few weeks ago, and we start talking about stuff, and we've been fortunate enough to go so many places and meet so many people and do so many cool things. Like I'm at that age where I'm like I forget stuff now very easily. I mean, telling on us all, but
Yes.
I say the hard drive's getting full.
But you know how it is. You know how it is, Kyle. I mean, you probably got baseball stories that you forgot about by now. That people bring up. And it's the same thing with us. Like we've got hunting stories. We were hanging out with these guys, and Kevin's like, "Yeah, you remember that time?" Da 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 da. And this guy was there, and I'm like, "Dude, I had totally forgot about all that." So, but thinking back on the day Kevin and I met, it was just one of those things. Like literally, we wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you guys if it weren't for this path that we were set on so many long years ago. And it's just funny. Kevin and I have always believed we've always gotten what we needed, whether it was what we wanted or not, to continue to grind away at what we've been doing. And I mean, them first 5 or 6 years were like, we've got stories we can sit here all night and say, man, this ain't gonna work. It's not gonna happen. Is tomorrow the last day? Is today the last day? That we're done, and we've just been fortunate enough to hang around. And that first day we met, I just remember Kevin had this skill set of editing, which, back then, man, it's a really, really cumbersome process. Technology's made things a lot easier since then, but you still got to know what you're doing. And Kevin stayed on top of all that all these years, and he's always been that guy. And I guess I was just the one there for the good looks. I don't know, something like that. But
there's got to be one and the other.
Exactly. But with all that being said, I think back because I remember the day I called Kevin, like we swapped contact info, and it was a few days later. I think that next week after that weekend, and I was driving home from work, and I called him, and I mean, we talked for like an hour. I think we just both knew that this was something we were going to really, really wanted to give it a run. We're passionate about it. And, our first goal was just to sell 5 DVDs or whatever. And next thing you know, we're 2 or 3 years later, we're on TV and just growing. And now TV is not a thing anymore. So we have to do this social media stuff that we've got all these followers on now on YouTube. It's just been a crazy change. You never can draw a roadmap out.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. 20 years later, now they're doing this. Yeah, like you're saying, it's amazing how the road takes you down different paths, but you have to enjoy that road too. It goes by so fast, but when you look back on it, all the memories and all those good times. So speaking of the memories, how did you guys get into hunting? Is there a certain person that got you guys involved, or a certain event?
I think both of us, our dads took us hunting, when we were younger and got us in the outdoors. Neither one of our dads, I don't think, turkey hunted or anything. It was all deer hunting. And then I think the both of us got our dads into turkey hunting later on down the road.
Yeah, what Kevin said, I mean, my dad was, I guess a lack of a better term, he was like a semi-pro bass fisherman. So he traveled all over the Southeast, different states, fishing in these big bass tournaments. I mean, he won his regions and got to go to like the Hawaii fishing tournaments, Arizona, Arkansas, like all these, and Buffalo, New York. I think they fished a tournament up there. So, and this was in the the 80s, early 90s, and but he would fish in these bass tournaments all spring, all summer, and then come fall, that would wind down, and then he just went straight to deer hunting. So I grew up with fishing poles in my hand, I think, when I was born, and then I got into deer hunting and stuff a little bit later on. I think I shot my first deer at like 11 or whatever. But it's always been a part of who I am and what I do. And my family farm, we always shot quail and doves. And I mean, I didn't have a choice. I was destined to hunt and fish. It wasn't an option. And I'm thankful for that. I mean, you know how it is a lot of times when your dads push you in a direction, or your granddads or uncles or whoever. And, especially in the, your dad always wants you to do better than them at everything that they like to do. And now finally, it took me a while, but I embraced all the stuff that he loved to do and realized that it was a pretty good path to go down.
And I grew up here in Florida, and we didn't know anything about big deer. We just enjoyed hunting what deer we had, and like Michael said, we probably dove hunted more than we deer hunted just because it was convenient. We could do that out our back door, but we had to drive a little ways to get to where there were enough deer to hunt back in those days. So it's definitely come full circle now with, getting out with our dads when we first started, and now getting our dads out there now on some of these adventures we get to go on.
I remember Kevin was really excited when he met me and realized I had property in Georgia, because he was like, oh man, I get to go hunt big deer.
They got big deer up there.
As soon as you cross the line, they get bigger.
That's for sure.
And whenever we first started, especially in the mornings, like Michael has gotten a whole lot better in his older age, but when we first started, before about 9 o'clock in the morning, you didn't want to talk to Michael because he was going to be a little bit of a snappy head about things. And
well, the thing was, we're getting up at it's early bow season. It's not going to be 95 degrees that day, and I'm like, this is going to suck. We're just going because we're video and trying to get something on film. Knowing, I think in the back of my mind, I'm like, we're not even going to see a deer hardly. Much less kill one until like it cools off and November gets here. And Kevin's all like, man, we're going hunting in Georgia. Oh, let's go. And I'm like,
I might see the biggest deer I ever seen before today. Let's go.
I was like, you're stupid.
knew what was going to happen, but he was just so excited he just couldn't wait, like a little kid on Christmas.
The first deer I ever killed up there in Georgia was actually, hunting with Michael back in that first year, and he's actually hanging on the wall over in front of me, and he's probably 110-inch 8-point that in the grand scheme of things on these walls, he wouldn't get mounted today. But back then I was proud of him. I looked at him for hours sitting on a tailgate before bedtime. Matter of fact,
Michael's shot off the tailgate,
huh? Michael's
typical Southern Georgia hunter, South Georgia hunter.
Well, I mean, you had to put him on tailgate just to admire him for a little while. We didn't have anywhere to go ride him around and show off, so we just had to look at him at camp. But Michael's grandpa, we called him Pop, was hunting with us back then, and he said that he was going to call the governor of Florida and make it some kind of a national holiday because I killed a big old buck, and I was so proud of it.
Should have done that.
It didn't matter to everybody else near as much as it did to me, but it was big to me.
I think is all about, there's a trophy to one person is not a trophy to another, and everybody's trophy is different, So for you guys, is there a special moment or favorite trophy that you guys have gone through or been able to take?
That's a tough question. Well, I'll just tell this quick story of something that used to happen to me that doesn't happen anymore, and maybe that'll clear it up a little bit. I used to have a dream all the time. You know how we all have our dreams about, you didn't study for a test, or you forgot your locker combination, or, you got some kind of stressor in life that just kind of recurs in your dreams. And we finally get past those moments. Well, I used to have this dream that I would shoot a big deer. And I dropped it right there or whatever. And as soon as I went to grab the rack to see what it was, I would wake up from my dream every time. It happened. I never could. But all I know is I killed that deer, and he's on my wall somewhere, either out in my office or in here, because I don't have that dream anymore. So that's where I put it. Whichever one that was, that's him. That's my dream deer.
I think I have shot 100 deer in my dreams that I didn't get to recover, and I was mad about every single one of them. I've had a few pretty memorable ones, but one that kind of sticks out of my mind wasn't even one I shot. It was one that my compadre there shot, and I was videoing for him, and we called that deer into a decoy. And he 10-ringed him, and that joker was pumping, running out of there. And that one sticks in my mind pretty hard because I told him he's killed a bajillion. He's probably killed more deer than EHD at this point, but that is the one deer that I can remember being actually a little bit jealous of whenever he shot that one because it was a stud.
Yeah, I remember that for sure. That deer, we actually had a decoy out in a cut soybean field, and he was with a doe. And he's locked down with this doe. So we tried to grunt, we tried to rattle a little bit. He would look, but he wouldn't do anything. And finally I said, screw it, let's snort wheeze at him. And he broke off of that doe, and he came to about 50 yards. And then he didn't like something, and he turned and went right back to that doe. And I said, heck with it, let's try it again. We snort wheezed again. This time he made a bigger circle, and he got out there about 35 yards. Like Kevin said, it was one of them where the arrow just went right in the triangle right there at the shoulder. And when the fletches disappeared into his shoulder, you could just see the blood just squirt straight back out about 2 or 3 feet. And he's running off just pumping. I just turned around and hung my bow up and looked up at Kevin. I said, he's done. That's game over. And he just crashed right behind me in the background right when I said that. He was probably 160, 70 inch 9-point, I think is what it was. So that was probably one of my favorite ones, no doubt. And especially made a little bit better when your compadre's like, man, I wish I'd have shot that one.
Yeah, that's pretty good deer.
Yeah.
However long you can think of a deer growing tines, that's how long those were.
Yeah, he was a good one.
Do you guys like using decoys?
I've probably used one more than Michael has, but it's just something about, just like turkey hunting, it gives the animal something to focus on besides looking for you. And if you call a deer, I've called one 200 yards across a picked cornfield. that he would, in my opinion, he would have never come all the way to me without something there to see. Because when I called, he looked, and I called again, and he looked, and that time, he saw the decoy, and he actually left two does and came all the way across the field to me. So it's not something that's going to work all the time, especially for me, like in the Midwest, it's kind of a late October thing. I have used it in November and had big bucks with does that herded the doe away from it because it just was too late in the year. They weren't going to come fight. They were locked on a doe, and it just wasn't going to happen. But when it's the right time, yes, a deer decoy, I love it.
I think Kevin's right on. That deer we were just talking about that I actually shot two bucks that same week on a decoy, and the first one was the third buck that came into it that morning. The other two I just didn't get shots at. Timing is everything with that though. He's spot on. I think when I shot those two it was like November 1st, 4th, something like that. So it's got to be right there at that time where they're got the does kind of getting right, but the territorial thing is still a big play. But one thing on both of the two that I shot that week, they both came to a snort weeks. So I think that's a key with this thing is they can hear that noise and they see that smaller buck over there, like almost like, no, you're not talking to me. I know you're not. Like I couldn't fix to handle this.
Yeah. On the decoys, or you just make sure they're just scent free?
I usually spray it down with some lethal, make sure it's all scent free. Sometimes I may put a little buck scent on it, but I don't think that matters. I think by the time they get close enough to be worrying about scent, it's usually too late.
Just have more of a visual for them to see, to be able to come to probably with the snort wheeze to an animal. So yeah, just more visual.
I will tell you a funny story with the decoy. So it was after Christmas. It was late December when our buddy Brantley Gilbert, he used to have some property in Alabama, and I said, well, man, I'm going to take this decoy over here and just see what happens because he's had good property, bunch of bucks on it, and so I go out and put it in a green field over there, and I decide I'm going to get some doe estrus. I just coated this buck decoy down, so it's like it's the Dave Smith decoy buck, so it's like probably 100, probably bigger than most of the deer we've shot in Georgia, like 120-inch 8-point decoy out there. And dude, I had two different bucks. They were small. One was a pretty good buck. He was busted up, so I didn't shoot him. And the other one was a smaller buck. They both came up to that decoy and they both mounted it.
That thing smelled good.
And I was like, bro, this is so messed up right now.
Yeah, that's funny. Did you get footage of it?
Oh yeah, they rode that train. Like one of them mounted it twice and kept coming up to it like, "What's going on?" Like I don't know what's wrong.
This girl got a mustache, but I like how she smells.
That's awful.
I know between you guys and Kyle, you've done your fair share of hunting in multiple states. I probably haven't hit near as many as you guys, but do you have a particular state or, set up for where you hunt, whether it be how the topography is laid out or, maybe it is the state, just something about it that you love to hunt?
Yeah, I definitely have a favorite. It's Texas because you can hunt South Texas, which is, I mean, if anybody has the opportunity to go hunt whitetail in South Texas, absolutely go do it. Especially if you're on a good ranch. I mean, it's unbelievable at the numbers of deer, the numbers of bucks. But the thing I like about Texas is we've gotten more and more friends out there that we hunt. But you can hunt South Texas for whitetail, hogs, javelina, turkeys, nilgai. I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff. You can work your way up to North Texas, and they got elk, mule deer, giant whitetail. I mean, it's a diverse terrain. Like we hunt the canyons up in North Texas, we hunt the Mesquite Flats in South Texas, and you got everything in between. Kevin and I've shot tons of turkeys and deer out there. I mean, it's to me, it's just one of them where you got something to hunt probably 365 days a year. I mean, you got all dad, just something. So it's like redneck paradise. Like, I want to get up tomorrow. Let's go kill something. It's just what can we shoot today?
Right.
And when you go buy your license there, they print out this page that's about this long of about, it looks like 100 little tags of everything you can shoot. And so, they give you a lot of tags, whereas you go spend more money than that in Illinois, and they're like, oh, here's your $1 tag for shooting with a bow. Whereas Texas, you just get everything all at once.
And they've even got MLD tags in Texas, so you don't even have to use your hunt license tag. You can just use you have to put your license number on there, but they get all these landowner or lease tags, and you can just, man, it could get crazy out there on the right place.
Especially somewhere with a bunch of deer and they got to do a lot of deer controlling, that you can stack up a truckload of those.
I promise you. We did that this year. Went up, I shot my mule deer first afternoon, and the guy we're hunting was like, "Hey man, I got a whitetail ranch about 20 minutes from here. I need to told the landowner we go try to shoot like 15 does this weekend. You want to go?" And I was like, "That was a dumb question." So we just went down there and like we were. I mean, I shot one at like, I forgot, it was like 483, and then we're shooting 275, 300. It was just like, let's just pick one out because it's just open and canyons and stuff. We just don't let them fall in the canyon was our only rule.
That's awesome. Texas is definitely on the list for me. I've been working with one of our pro staffers, Tim Redding. He's got a lot of connections down there in Texas. So we've been trying to figure out, get a couple of us down there, or, make it a team thing where we're out there for a week or two. And, like you said, just try and pretty much get as much content as you possibly can.
Those Allendale sheep as well up in the, so sounds to be like a lot of fun to go after, since you can go after them year round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
And they don't drop their horns like the deer do their antlers, so they always look good.
Right. Definitely. Now, with all the hunting that you guys have done, is there any bucket list hunt that you haven't been able to do yet that, before you kick your feet up to the sky and meet Jesus, that you'd like to try and accomplish?
I know what Kevin's going to say.
What am I going to say? Go ahead.
You want to shoot a moose.
I was going to say that moose didn't used to be on my list, but it seems like every year it gets up there a little bit higher. But a big old bugle and an elk with a bow at about 20 yards is probably number one, but moose would be right up there, number 2 or 3.
I also thought you were going to say bear because that's been your nemesis.
No, a bear is one of those things that I am going to kill one day, but it's not that big of a priority. I don't go to bed thinking about hunting a bear, but I've been 2 or 3 times and ain't shot one yet. And every time I get just a little bit more mad at them.
Yeah, on mine, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I've shot more stuff than I ever thought I'd be able to in my entire life. There's nothing. I mean, I haven't shot a moose before. I haven't shot a bear before, but like bear is just not something that. I mean, I'm like Kevin. I would shoot one, but it's not like I just jump at the bits to do it. I don't know. I love whitetail hunting. I like mule deer hunting. I've shot a few elk. I guess I've accomplished everything I really on my want to list, but I'm just kind of at that point now where like, let's just do something that sounds cool. You called me up and said, "Hey man, let's go." Kevin talked to me a couple weeks ago about just going to Hawaii and shooting the axis deer, and I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. I'll do something like that.
That would be cool. Plus, it'd be kind of like a mini vacation.
Yeah, they met some guys. They said they have axis deer, some kind of funny looking goats, and wild hogs. So that sounded like a good time to me.
Let's just shoot stuff. That's just where it's at. As long as it's not crazy. I mean, I'm in pretty good shape for my age and all that, but like let's go climb a 90-degree face to shoot a mountain goat and stuff. Just doesn't excite me a whole lot. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, turkeys, whitetail, maybe elk, hopefully. But yeah, as far as going after some sheep up some rock faces, I'm good too. No thanks.
Yeah, everybody. a bighorn sheep is like one of the most sought after trophies or whatever, and people pay mega money to go hunt those. I have zero desire at all to climb a mountain trying to shoot a bighorn sheep.
Let's put this in perspective. I'm sitting there in Texas this past September. Um, we're on an all-dad hunt, and my buddy Rick that went out there with me, he killed one already. And so I'm sitting there watching some smaller all-dad, and we actually saw some on the property next to us that we could hunt that were bigger on our way out. And then some elk started bugling, and I was like, "This all-dad stuff, this guy, we can do this some other time, or if never, I'll be okay." But when the elk started bugling, I was like, "I'm in. That's what I'm going to go do in the morning."
Yeah, that's awesome.
That I'd have been right there with you too. And on the all dad, we going after that joker that's making all that racket.
Right. Yeah, and they're such big animals, man. You could eat off elk meat for a minute.
I have about, I don't know, 400 pounds sitting in Texas that I need to get back to Georgia.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's awesome.
Well, Michael and I love hunting turkeys and, calling in a big old gobbling tom, but there's something about a giant deer that screams at you like that.
Yeah.
That's just cool to me.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Now, this was kind of a random question that popped up, and you might not have an answer, so that's all good. But with whitetail, there's so many different things that you can do with venison, right? Like, grind it up and make jerky or summer sausage or make burger meat, or, whatever, steaks. But, I haven't seen near as many people, at least personally, that know how to cook a wild turkey well. Now, I'm assuming with how much you guys hunt the turkeys, do you guys do a lot of the wild turkey, eating it? And if so, what would be your go-to? What would you like? How would you prepare that so people wouldn't even question it?
I'm going to give the healthy version and let Kevin give the unhealthy version.
There you go.
So my favorite way is I cut that breast out and I season it like with a rub and the olive oil, then get a good rub on it, and I'll put it on the pellet grill, and I put that thing on there for, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours, about 225, and then, man, it's so good. Just slice it up, it's juicy, it's tender. That's the way I like it. Not that I don't like it. What Kevin's about to say, Kyle, you guessed it.
Well, I actually was going to tell you too, because, one, if you are like Michael, following in Kyle's footsteps there, building your physique, then the grill is obviously the way to go. I do like some turkey shish kebabs wrapped in bacon with a little bit of bell pepper and some onion and some mushrooms on there. Soak that in some Italian dressing for a pretty good while, and then put that on the grill. That's hard to beat. But there's something about cutting that turkey breast up in little bitty nuggets and soaking it in some buttermilk and putting it in some hot grease at 350 degrees that just makes it absolutely delicious. You'll have to take my word for it, Kyle. I mean, I ain't working towards your physique yet. So.
Oh, trust me, I've had a few of those before. Don't worry.
Well, two things that come to mind. Everything's better when it's deep fried, and even better when you can wrap it in bacon.
Bacon is meat candy.
That's right. That's right. All right. And then the only other question I had, I mean, you guys could probably talk for hours about all the successful hunts that you've had. And I think we all have, those good hunts, but has there ever been a hunt that, whether it was from the film perspective or just equipment failures, that was just an absolute nightmare when you thought, hey, this is going to be it. We're going to sneak in. We're going to have, success. And then it's, everything just seems to be against you.
We've had a long list of those. Some of those we have vowed to never speak of again. But one that I think we are willing to discuss. I was running along behind that son of a gun with a camera years ago out in Colorado. And we kept getting I mean, like where, like you said, there's no doubt in our mind we're about to kill this big mule deer. And every single time something would go wrong. Matter of fact, one day we were stalking out there and this mule deer laid down, and the guide said, "Hey, that's no problem. We'll just sit right here where we're at. 100%. When he gets up, he's coming right here by us." And I didn't have a snack or nothing. And I laid there on that hill all day long just to watch that mule deer get up and walk straight away from us at the end of the day.
Oh God.
That was one of the toughest ones. And so this was me. This was my quest. Was my first mule deer, and I'd been to the same place. I think it was the year before with my bow, and they have a really high success rate with bow. So I get there, and it's like for spot and stalk and mule deer, we're in the plains of Colorado, so there's not a lot of cuts or a lot of not any canyons much. There's a few little cliffs or whatever, so you can sneak around on them pretty good, but you got to have some wind blowing. That's rule number one. Like if the wind's not blowing, everything out there is so dry, it crunches. They'll hear you coming forever. We went out there, and I think it was a 3 or 4 or 5 day hunt. I can't remember, but I had everything could go wrong with a bow that you can imagine. The wind was 0 miles an hour one day. So we tried to sneak up on someone. We just the does would hear us and they would blow out. We went down and put a stalk on one deer, and out of nowhere, like 5 airplanes, like an air show airplanes, like old, do 2 sets of wings stacked up airplane. They fly right over the top of us and blow every deer off of the prairie.
And I had nothing to do with that. I just wanted to go ahead and put that out.
Kevin was calling them, "Hey guys, now." But then this is every day. It was something different. The third day, we got a big buck bedded down with some does. We're coming around. We're going to stalk right over the top of this rise, 30, 40-yard shot right on top of him. The farmer goes to the other side corner of this property, which is there all in sections, and he sets a barn on fire. We hear all kind of noise, stuff popping and blowing. Look over the rise, the deer like a mile running away, and this freaking barn is on fire. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And finally, we pull up on one more spot, and we get out of the truck, and there's a mule deer standing out there, pretty nice buck. And we kind of ease over to the edge. He doesn't know we're there. I range him. He's 125 yards. And I look at my bow. I look at my bottom pin, which was at 85, and I said, "I'm finna send it." So I draw back. I anchor. This deer's broadside, 125 yards. I got an 85-yard pin, and I go, "Hey, let's hold it about a foot over his back. See what happens." I turn it loose, and we couldn't use the video because the audio got screwed up. There's no audio, but you can see the arrow going straight at the deer, and it was headed dead center punch on him. And while the arrow's in flight, he turns and starts walking towards us, and the arrow passes him and goes behind him. He stops and turns around and looks where the arrow went. And then he runs off. So there you go. That preluded to this hunt that Kevin's
that's all the bad luck that happened before I even went.
that was not even Kevin's fault. This hunt, we actually, a group of us, Kevin and I and some more guys, my dad and some more guys, we went antelope hunting first in Wyoming, and we all shot antelope, and then we left there and came to Colorado for the muzzleloader mule deer opener. And so it's a Friday evening, and we're out glassing, and we found this buck, and he was with 2 other bucks every time, and they're in a winter wheat field when we find them that Friday before the season opens Saturday. And they literally walk out of the winter wheat field, cross the road in front of the truck, 30 yards away, Kevin?
If that, yeah.
And they go on off in the prairie over here, and so we leave. And I said right then, I said it out loud. I shouldn't have said it because I called it. I said, "That's as close as we'll get to that deer in the next week." And sure enough, that was as close as we got to that deer. But yeah, like Kevin said, we go out there, we see this same buck with these 2 other bucks. I think it's 5 days in a row, literally from daylight to dark, with a muzzleloader, which in Colorado muzzleloader, you got to use granular powder and no scope. So it's open sights, and it's a 100 yards and in shot basically. And finally, the last day we were flying out that afternoon evening. I get up that morning, and we're staying at a hotel. The guide's not up. Me and Kevin are up. We've made a plan. Like this is the day we're going to kill this deer and we're going to go home. I go in there. My guide's not up. I go to his hotel room. The door's cracked open just a little enough where I know it's not locked. I open the door and he's still in the bed asleep.
Oh.
And I mean, this guy's not in business anymore. But quick story of that he laid up all night, had a friend over and some beverages. So I was kind of hot. I think that's a great way to put it, right, Kevin?
I'm pretty sure that the move Michael Lee put on him would have made him a whole bunch of money in a WWE ring.
I was pretty much I should have done a Kyle and just form tackled him right through the wall, but I didn't do that. But I got a pillow and I beat him in the head a few times and got him up. Finally, he walked out and we got in the truck and we go. And sure enough, we find the deer. He's in the same section of property in this little low spot. Like, all right, there he is. And me and Kevin get out of the truck. We get the gun, we get his camera gear and everything. And the guide's getting out of the truck. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going with you." I said, "No, you're not." I said, "Drive down the road, park. I'll call you when we're done."
Keep an eye on him for us.
Yeah, you just keep an eye on him. We're going to go kill him. And because this guy had actually already blown a stalk for us before. I mean, it's just trying to make this story short as I possibly can. But anyway, we tell him to go park. We'll call him when he's done. 15 minutes later, we called him. We killed the deer.
And Zach, you don't look old enough to remember any Dusty Rhodes stuff, but I'm pretty sure Michael Lee did his best Dusty Rhodes impersonation that day. And it was a beautiful sight, but not near as good as that mule deer laying there dead.
That on video, that would have been good. The Dusty Rhodes move.
American dream, baby.
No, it's good to know that, and for everybody watching it, that sometimes it feels like all the bad luck is on you and you've just inherited it for everybody else. All your buddies are killing nice bucks and you haven't even seen a shooter. So, or your bow, something happens there, your sight's off. So it's good to know even the guys who are, all the self-made filmers, right? They're looking to get to the level you guys are at. And so, I'm sure it definitely, brings home that, hey, this happens to everybody. So I definitely appreciate you sharing.
I can tell you, the days that you miss one and that you screw it up, people always remember that. You can shoot a giant deer, and by next year, they forgot all about it. But people will still come up to you. "Oh, you remember that time you missed that deer and didn't, you shot over his back and didn't kill him?" Well, yeah, that was about 10 years ago, but appreciate you bringing it up.
I just got over that yesterday.
Didn't think I'd get therapy.
Remember that.
Yeah, my best advice for everybody that's trying to do their own thing and get out there and hustle and get after it is I think a long time doing this, I struggled with trying to make things happen instead of let things happen. And when I started letting things happen, it got a lot easier.
And just in life, just let things happen instead of trying to make things happen, for sure.
Yeah. You still got to work. You still got to work and hustle. You got to do your part. But when it comes to there's just the enjoyment part of it, when you just start kind of like, hey, just take me to where I need to be,
And just enjoy the ride. I had somebody ask me the other day, said, "How was your deer season?" I said, "Well, great." I said, "I didn't kill but one buck the whole year, but I had a truckload of fun tagging along with all of my buddies all over the country, just out deer hunting."
Definitely. Making good memories and, of course, putting nice deer on the wall is always a plus, but that's the great thing about hunting is it just connects us all no matter where you're from or, what your status is. I mean, it brings even complete strangers together. It's like you've known each other for years.
That's right.
I always say if you can spend 3 days in a hunt camp with somebody, real quick if you're going to be friends or
Yeah.
Yep.
No doubt there.
I wish I'd have met Kevin at hunting camp first.
Yeah, there's probably some days Michael's like, man, I wish one of us had got a flat tire that day 20 years ago. We would have never crossed paths.
No regrets. No regrets, man.
Well, here you are, what, 19 seasons later. So congrats to that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and Kyle. It's been fun. Just getting to know you guys a little bit better and hear some of your cool stories. And definitely love to have you back again.
I appreciate you guys having us. It's been a good time.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Enjoyed it, and we'd love to come back anytime.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much. Yeah, I know you guys are busy in your schedules and everything and late at night, but yeah, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Kyle, just let me know when you want to come up here and eat some fried turkey, and I'll let Kyler throw a blitz ball at you a few times.
You got to take me go hunting first.
Hey, Kevin, we'll figure out if Kyler's got what it takes to be a pitcher or not when Kyle charges the mound the back other way.
Yeah, I don't know if Kyler's ready for a Farnsworth tackler or not.
Get him ready early.
All right, gentlemen. We'll have a good night and good luck this upcoming spring.
Thanks, you guys too.
Thanks.
Y'all knock them down.